Hi and welcome back. This video is not really part of the content for our VCE course, but it is a skill that we need to use as we move forward and start to do more things with gases. So what we're going to look at today is a method for converting units, in particular units of pressure, because our pressure can be given in a whole variety of units and we need to be able to convert easily from one to the other because we must be able to convert pressure into the standard kilopascals in order to use in the ideal gas equation when doing stoichiometry problems. So let's get going. Essentially, this method relies on us being able to create a conversion factor. And a conversion factor is essentially an equivalent statement that tells us how much one unit is in another. So how many kilopascals per millimeter of mercury and that kind of thing. By knowing these conversion factors between units, we can convert from one to the other quite easily. You're given a list of conversion factors in your data book in around page 6, I think it's table 5. In particular for metric volume conversions as well as pressure. So this is the one from your data booklet which gives us the conversion factors for pressure. These have changed in the last few years, so if you're looking at anything pre-2017, these will be different. So you will often see 101.325 kilopascals being equal to 1 atmosphere. This is no longer used within VCE. What we have is that 100 kilopascals is equal to 750 millimeters of mercury, or 0.987 atmospheres. No longer are you required to report in bar or pounds per square inch within the chemistry curriculum. So this is the main conversion factor that we want to use, and then we want to be able to convert interchangeably if we're given atmospheres, millimeters of mercury, pascals or kilopascals into any of the others as the question requires. So this method is called a number of different things, the factor label method or dimensional analysis. You'll often see it used in a lot of American unit conversions. They're taught this way in American schools. But what this technique does is it allows us to convert from one unit to another as long as we know the conversion factor. And what we want to do with those conversion factors, remember we said 100 kPa is equal to 750 millimeters of mercury, 0.987 atmospheres. Okay, so we want to be able to put these as a fraction. So what we're going to do is we can say interchangeably that 100 kilopascals is per every 750 millimeters of mercury. Essentially what we're saying here is that that's 1. Okay, so what we want to do though is figure out which one we're going to put on the top and which one we're going to put on the bottom when we come to do our conversions. The way we do this is we look at this setup here. We have the amount of the unit we want to convert from. So say we want to convert from millimeters of mercury, and we want to do 500, and then we want the unit we want to convert to. So this is going to be our conversion factor. So if we want to convert to atmospheres, this would be 0.987 atmospheres, and then on the bottom we want to put the unit we're converting from the conversion factor. So that's millimeters of mercury, so 750 millimeters of mercury. What this means is, if you can see here, we would be dividing by millimeters of mercury on the right hand side compared to this timesing by the millimeters, and those two units will cancel out. So we will end up with 500 multiplied by 0.987 all divided by 750. If you're putting this into your calculator, it's important to have your 500 multiplied and then use brackets, 0.987 divided by 750 to get the conversion factor correct. Okay, let's look at this in practice and see what it looks like with a few examples. In this one, we want to convert from atmospheres to kilopascals. So I'm going to put my 4.5 atmospheres, and then I'm going to multiply by my conversion factor. I want to have the one that I want to go to on top, so I'm going to take my kilopascals, 100 kPa from my conversion factor in the data booklet, and that is going to be over the top of 0.987 atmospheres. These will cancel out, so I'm going to get my 4.5 times 100 over 0.987, and that will all be left in kPa, which is going to be equal to 455.93 kPa. So now we've done the conversion. Make sure when you're showing this working in questions that you can just show this step here. You don't need to show this one here. Okay, but you should show your conversion, because sometimes in questions there is a mark associated for the conversion from one unit to the other. If you don't show that calculation and you've made an error, you will be robbing yourself of consequential marks later on in the exam. Okay, in example 2, we're going to go millimeters of mercury to kPa. So we have 825 millimeters of mercury multiplied by our conversion factor. I want to go to kPa, so that's going to be on top, and that is going to be 100. And then on the bottom, I'm going to have my millimeters of mercury from our conversion factor, which is 750. If I plug this all into the calculator, you should come up with 110 kPa, which, if you think about it, seems about right, because this is just over about 10% more than our 750, and we've got 10% more in our kilopascals there. Don't forget to check your significant figures when you're doing calculations as well. Example number 3, this time we're going from pascals to atmospheres. This requires us to remember the metric conversions in the first place. So remembering that to go from pascals to kilopascals, I'm going from a smaller unit to a larger, and in metric, kilo is 1,000, so I'm going to take 45,000 divide by 1,000, and I'm going to get my number of kilopascals, which is going to be 45 kPa. Now I've got 45 kPa, I can use my conversion factor from here. So now I've done my metric conversion. It's just the same process as before. So we've got our 45 kPa multiplied by our conversion factor. I want to get 2 atmospheres, so atmospheres will be on top, divided by 100 kPa. And when we throw that into the calculator, we will end up with a final answer of 0.44415 atmospheres. And of course, we can round that to the required number of significant figures from the question that we've been doing. In this case, I would probably take it to 3 based on our 0.987 for our atmospheres, so 0.444 atmospheres. Okay, so that's basically all the conversions for our units of pressure, being able to go from millimeters of mercury to kilopascals and atmospheres, remembering that we can also easily convert between kilopascals and pascals with our metric conversions. Another area where this is quite useful is applying it to other units. You can use it for your metric conversions between kilograms and grams, all those kinds of things, remembering those data tables are also in your data booklet. But you should be familiar with those metric conversions without having to use this method. One area where it does come in handy is actually using capacity and volume differences, depending on whether or not you're given a question which may use decimeters cubed or meters cubed for its volumes. These don't come up often, but this data is provided for you in the data booklet, so it is possible. In this case, this conversion factor is on the same page as the one for units of pressure, and you would just follow it here. So if we wanted to convert from meters cubed to milliliters, we could say 1.5 meters cubed would be multiplied by, and in this case, we're going to milliliters, so 1 times 10 to the 3 milliliters, and that is the same as 1 times 10 to the negative 3 meters cubed. So now what we will do here is the same situations we did before. So we're going to take 1 times 10 to the 3 and divide by our conversion factor on the bottom, so which is our 1 times 10 to the negative 3. That gives us our conversion factor. Okay, and then we're going to multiply by the number that we had, 1.5, and that will be a huge number, which is 150, 4 milliliters, which makes sense because 1 liter is 1 decimeter cubed, and 1 decimeter cubed is 1 times 10 to the negative 3 meters cubed. So this is going to be a huge volume. Okay, noting that there's 1,000 liters in a meter cubed, so, or more than that. So this can be used for those capacity calculations that seem tricky when we're dealing with those really, really big numbers as well, or even your parts per million calculations. You may find that this helped you with that. But that's it from me now on unit conversions. This is just a matter of practice. Remember to make a note of how to set it out. You can do this in your own words. You don't have to use the set out that I've done here, but remembering that you always want to have, this is going to come from the question, and then these ones here are going to be from your data booklet. They're going to be the conversion factor that you want to multiply through. If you have any questions, be sure to check with me and ask in class. I'll see you later.